In the golden glow of the jazz age, America danced to the rhythm of flappers, jazz clubs, and an air of freedom after the darkness of World War. The 1920s was an age of excess, of champagne bubbles rising in smoky speakeasies, of women pushing boundaries and men reveling in new liberties. But beneath the glitter and the jazz, there were darker stories, tales of betrayal, obsession, and murder. One of the most shocking scandals of this era began not in New York or Chicago, but in the quiet town of New Brunswick, New Jersey. It was there, in the autumn of 1922, that two bodies were discovered under a crabapple tree. And what at first seemed a simple crime of passion exploded into a tabloid sensation. The victims, Reverend Edward Hall, a respected Episcopal minister, and Eleanor Mills, a choir singer. Both were married, both entangled in a forbidden love affair, and both brutally murdered in a case that would expose hypocrisy, ignite rumors, and captivate America like never before. The Reverend Edward Hall was, to the outside world, a man of dignity. Born into a prominent family, he seemed destined for respect. He led services at St. John the Evangelist Episcopal Church, where his sermons offered solace to the faithful. He was well educated, charming, and active in his community. His wife, Frances Hall, came from the wealthy Stevens family, heirs to a fortune made in rubber manufacturing. Their marriage looked stable, prosperous, and respectable, but appearances often deceive. Eleanor Mills was very different from Frances. She was a working-class woman, married to James Mills, a janitor at the church. She sang in the choir, her voice lifting toward heaven every Sunday. And it was in that choir laugh that Reverend Hall's eyes first began to linger. Eleanor, lively and romantic, craved something more than her modest life. Edward Hall offered excitement, and Eleanor, in turn, gave him passion and devotion that his cold marriage to Frances could not. Their affair blossomed in whispers and stolen glances, in love letters written with trembling hands. Those letters would later become infamous, addressed with endearments like, "Darling heart and sweetest man in all the world." In them, Eleanor poured out her longing, her desperation, and her willingness to risk everything for the minister she adored. But secrets have a way of surfacing. In small-town New Jersey, gossip was as inevitable as the ringing of the church bells. And by September of 1922, the rumors were boiling. On the evening of September 14th, Reverend Hall left his home, telling Frances he was going to attend to church matters. Eleanor, too, slipped away into the night. The two lovers met at their familiar spot, a secluded field near a farm, shaded by trees, where they could talk, embrace, and dream of a life they could never truly have. But someone else knew their secret. Someone was watching. 2 days later, on the morning of September 16th, a couple picking wildflowers stumbled upon a grisly scene. Beneath a crabapple tree lay the bodies of Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills. The minister's hat was carefully placed at his side. Eleanor's body was stretched out, her throat slashed from ear to ear, her tongue nearly severed, as though to silence her forever. Edward had been shot once in the head, once in the chest. Scattered around them were love letters, torn but legible, their words of passion now evidence of betrayal. Eleanor's hand still bore her wedding ring, but her eyes stared lifelessly at the sky. The scene was both orderly and brutal, the careful arrangement of the bodies, his arm placed gently beneath her neck, their feet pointing toward the crabapple tree, suggested something ritualistic. Yet the savagery of Eleanor's wounds told of rage, and those letters, they were not left by accident. Whoever killed them wanted the world to know why. News spread instantly. By the next day, the quiet fields of New Brunswick were mobbed by onlookers, reporters, and curiosity seekers. The crime scene became a circus. Souvenir hunters snatched apples from the tree. Children gawked at the bloodstains. The police, ill-prepared, struggled to control the chaos. Evidence was trampled, touched, and even stolen. It was one of the first lessons in American true crime. History about the importance of preserving a crime scene, a lesson ignored in the frenzy of 1922. Suspicion immediately fell upon Frances Hall. She was wealthy, influential, and deeply humiliated by her husband's affair. With her stood her brothers, the Stevens brothers, stern, protective men who guarded their sister's honor like a fortress. Many believed Frances and her brothers discovered the lovers' meeting, confronted them, and carried out the murders in a storm of rage. Others whispered that it was not just rage, but a cold calculation. Frances could not afford the scandal of divorce, but she also could not allow her husband to leave her for a poor choir girl. The solution was blood. Investigators questioned Frances. She denied any involvement, claiming she had been home all night. Her brothers likewise denied everything, but their alibis were thin. and the gossip relentless. The newspaper seized the story, splashing it across front pages nationwide. To a nation addicted to scandal, this was irresistible. A love affair, a double murder, and the potential involvement of the wealthy elite. The investigation was marred from the start. Detectives bungled evidence, lost track of timelines, and failed to secure testimony. Witnesses claimed they saw a woman in black near the crime scene that night, accompanied by two men fueling speculation. It was Frances and her brothers. Others said they heard gunshots or a woman screaming, but the accounts were contradictory, unreliable. Then came the most colorful witness of all, a pig farmer's wife named Jane Gibson, known as the Pig Woman, living near the crime scene. She claimed she had seen it all. On the night of September 14th, she said she was out searching for a missing mule. When she heard voices by the crabapple tree, she crept closer and saw 4 figures, a man and a woman. She identified as Hall and Mills, and 2 others she could not fully see. She claimed to have witnessed an argument, then shots, then screams. She insisted one of the figures was a woman, Frances Hall. Jane Gibson's testimony electrified the public, but her credibility was shaky. She was eccentric, dramatic, and known for telling tall tales. Defense attorneys painted her as unreliable, a fantasist seeking attention. Still, her story fit the suspicions many already held. 4 years passed before charges were finally brought. In 1926, Frances Hall and her 2 brothers, Henry and Willie Stevens, were indicted for the murders. The trial became a national spectacle. Courtrooms overflowed with spectators. Reporters described Frances in vivid detail. Her cold demeanor, her aristocratic bearing, her widow's black attire. She sat stone-faced as prosecutors painted her as a jealous, vengeful woman who could not bear her husband's betrayal. The love letters between Hall and Mills were read aloud in court, their words shocking a public unaccustomed to such intimate confessions being aired so publicly. Eleanor's pleas to Hall, her devotion, and her desperation filled the courtroom with whispers. But while the prosecution argued these letters proved motive, the defense argued they were simply evidence of a tragic love, not murder. Jane Gibson, the Pig Woman, was brought into court on a stretcher, ill but determined to testify. In dramatic fashion, she recounted her story once more, pointing to Frances and her brothers as the killers. Yet the defense shredded her credibility, highlighting inconsistencies and her reputation for exaggeration. After weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated. The verdict, not guilty. Frances Hall and her brothers walked free. The courtroom erupted. Some saw it as justice, others as a miscarriage of justice fueled by wealth and influence. For many, the Hall Mills murders remained unsolved, a scandal buried beneath privilege. Yet the story refused to fade. For decades, journalists, historians, and true crime enthusiasts revisited the case. Books were written, theories debated. Was Frances truly guilty? Did her brothers help commit the crime? Or was it someone else entirely? Perhaps Eleanor's husband, James Mills, humiliated and enraged by his wife's betrayal. Some even speculated that the murder was not just about passion, but about silencing scandal that could have rocked the Episcopal Church. To this day, the Hall Mills murder case remains one of America's most notorious unsolved crimes. It encapsulates the contradictions of the Jazz Age, a period of liberation and repression, of moral preaching and secret sins. It revealed the fragility of reputation, the power of wealth, and the dangerous consequences of forbidden love. And perhaps most haunting of all, it left behind the image of 2 lovers lying side by side beneath a crabapple tree, their stolen happiness ending in blood. Theirs was a story written not just in passion, but in tragedy. The Jazz Age may have sparkled with music and freedom, but the murder of Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills reminded America that even in its brightest hours, darkness lurked in the shadows. Thank you for watching Crimes Through Time. If you found this story haunting, hit the like button and subscribe for more dark chapters from history. And tell us in the comments, do you think Frances Hall was guilty, or was someone else the real killer? We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay safe,